Hi my loves, welcome back to another video. I am super excited to have you guys here because this video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and get into a really good deep dive for a dark romance series that I just finished on audiobook, and I promise you guys are going to love it so much. And I wanted to go ahead and get into it because honestly, this series in a whole, absolute 6-star read. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So as I was saying, this series I just finished on audiobook. If you guys have seen, I think it's 2 videos back, but if you guys go back to my audiobook TBR, I talked specifically about one of the books in this series, which is Exile by Steph Macca. This is the 4th book in the series and the final book in the series of Dance with My Demons by Steph Macca. The first book to this series is going to be Unhinged. And then you have Echoes, Ravage, and of course the 4th book, which is Exile. And like I said, I listened to it on audiobook, and that was the best experience of my life. Okay, like I said, if I wouldn't have listened to it on audiobook, I think I would have rated it a good just 5 stars. But because I listened to it on audiobook, I have to give credit to those narrators, and I think that was an absolute 6-star read, or a 6-star listen, whatever you want to call it. But it was absolute 6-star reads, because that was literally a masterpiece, and I could not tell you enough. It's gonna sound like I'm overhyping this up, but I promise you that you will not regret it because it is so good. It is a full cast narration, and without, going in circles too much, I do have my list here of the things that I want to go ahead and talk about, because I promise you guys, when I tell you that this audiobook was so good, it was so good. So first of all, the cast. The cast is perfect. In my opinion, they couldn't have picked a better cast for the narration of this series. I completely applaud Steph Macca for the people that she chose for this, because she couldn't have picked anybody better, honestly. Perfection. And I cannot tell you guys enough. You guys are gonna recognize I'm pretty sure you're gonna recognize every single narrator, because they're very popular, but they're popular for a reason. But I think that in this case, for this series, they were absolutely perfectly picked. So you have Marie Hawkins as Avery, the FMC of the book and of the series, and she did an excellent job with Avery. She really brought Avery to life, in my opinion. I think with emotion, and with Avery is she can be very witty, and she can also be very serious, and she can also be very closed off, and she can also be, a little golden retriever when it comes to the time. And she's spicy and vulnerable, but also very strong and resilient. And I think that Marie did such a great job at bringing up those personality traits in her voice, and I absolutely loved everything about that part. And then next you have Corvin King as Gray and Corvin King. What? You're kidding. No, Corvin King, I will honestly, if he wrote instructions to how to use a pen, I would read them, because I would listen to it. If he narrated instructions on how to use a pen, I will listen to it, because I absolutely love when Corvin King narrates. He scratches an itch up here that just is perfectly scratched every single time, and I love that for me, okay? And I love that for him. But he plays Gray. He narrates Gray, and Gray is he is golden retriever but he is also morally gray. And he is also very protective and possessive and witty and funny, but also very troubled past, sad boy in a way. And Corvin King really, he's unhinged. And I will say Corvin King does a great job at narrating unhinged men. Judge me if you will. Don't believe me if you don't want to, but I think he does a great job at narrating unhinged men. And Gray is one unhinged man that he absolutely killed it with. I think he did an absolute great job with him, and really brought Gray to life. I love the way Corvin King narrates. Something about his voice and like the little laughs, unhinged laughs that he adds in his narration just fit perfectly with Gray. I think it makes the book more immersive that way, and I absolutely loved that. Okay, I will eat up anything Corvin King narrates, and this was not the exception. And then we have Joe Arden. Again, another one that does unhinged men so well. He narrated for Damon. Damon is a more serious man. He is a more closed off, possessive, protective of his family, of his family in the found family more. Not necessarily with the blood related people, because as we will discuss, that relationship is non-existent, babe. But with his found family, he's a ride or die. Literally, babe, a ride or die. And you guys will, if you guys listen to the audiobooks or read the books, you guys will understand what I mean, that he's literally a ride or die man, and I love that. He is also a very toucher, and and Joe Arden executed his personality so perfectly as well, because you don't really get a lot of emotion from him, I want to say. Not that you don't get emotion from him, because you do get emotion from him, because obviously he has POVs in the books. But like I said, he's a little bit more closed off, and he has walls that are a little bit harder to get through. So his emotion doesn't come out as often. But Joe Arden did a really good job at still making the reader or the listener know what Damon was feeling in the scene without Damon feeling feelings. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I don't know how else to explain it other than that way. But again, absolutely nailed it when it came to Damon. And then you have my guy, Anthony Palmini. He is another man that knows how to do the voice of that, like, more grovelly, like, serious man type of voice, if that makes sense. And that is Theo. Theo is a more, he's very similar to Damon. Obviously he has a different vibe, but it's very much the same. But I would say the difference would be that Theo is more keep to myself type of guy, and he's not afraid to, not that the other guys are afraid to like speak on who they really are. Like, they're not afraid to it, none of them are afraid to admit that they're not good people. But Theo is more vocal about it, I will say. I feel like Theo is definitely more vocal about letting people know who he really is, you know what I mean? And he's not afraid about it. He's not afraid to bring it up. He's not afraid to talk about it, and I love that about him. I think Anthony Palmini really did a great job at making Theo stand out when he's a little bit more on the reserved side. Like, he's not very interacting with the other guys, but with the other two, with Gray and Damon, but he's very interactive with Avery, and obviously that being his love interest, I would hope so, but they have a different chemistry together, and I think that that's what Anthony Palmini really brought out, was being able to see that, like, Theo does have a soft side to him, and he's not afraid to, like, fall in love, you know what I mean? Even though, because of his past, like, you would think he's not open to it, but he is, you know what I mean? And I love that. The chemistry within all three of the characters, I want to say they are not all the same. Like, yes, it's a white shoes, and you would think that in a white shoes that you're gonna have like a similar chemistry, but yes, they're all in one singular relationship, but they stand out in a different way. Like, they have an individual relationship as well, if that makes sense. Like, it's not just Avery, Damon, Theo, and Gray. No, it's like Damon, Avery, Gray, Avery, Theo, and Avery. You know what I mean? Like, it's very individualized in the chemistry. Gray was Avery's first love interest at Lilydale. That is the institution that they are in. They were admitted there instead of serving time in prison for their crimes. They were admitted to the program at Lilydale to recover and all of that. So that is where they all meet. But what was I getting at? I sidetracked myself and then forgot. That's crazy. No, but yeah, their chemistry is very individual. It's not all, you know, the same. They all bond in different ways, and I absolutely love that. I think that obviously in a white shoes, you don't want all the relationships to just blend into one, because then that takes away from the chemistry that they have. You know, obviously they fell for each other for a reason, and like I was saying, Gray was Avery's first love interest, and he, being the unhinged man that he is, he went straight for it, you know, and Avery fell for it. Don't blame her. I don't blame her. You know, he left her roses and fingers, and that was incredible. Honestly, why, you know what I mean? Like, that is the best. Like, what do you mean? You know, like, you're really telling me that roses and fingers are not your thing? But you know what I mean? But yeah, that was Theo's, or Gray's very much unhinged personality, like, put out there. And I think their personality is just great. I think him being such a golden retriever, and her also being, you know, she shows emotion a lot more, and I think it was easy for her to really fall for Gray, because he was just so open and more on her vibe, you know what I mean? Not that the other guys are not her vibe, because they definitely are her vibe, but in a different way, you know what I mean? And I like that. Now, Theo was her second love interest, and Theo, and Avery have a little bit more of a little bit more of a serious relationship. They connected more, a little bit more on like feelings and emotions. Their first their first encounter, spicy encounter, was in the morgue. So of course Avery fell for it, her little morbid self, you know. She discovered a new kink she didn't know she had, apparently. And yeah, the morgue was where it was at. But I love that for her. But yeah, they still they have a different connection. It's a little, I want to say it's a little bit more emotionally based or feelings based, opposed to Gray. And then you have Avery with Damon. Now, Damon with Avery, it comes in later. They're more of a enemies to lovers. Because it's not necessarily like I was saying that she shows emotion more. So, and Damon is obviously like, no, we're not showing emotion. That's a weakness. If you show these people here your emotions and you let them see that they're gonna see you as weak. And literally, I feel like that's what pissed Damon off about Avery, was the fact that she was able to show her emotions, and he was just like, he saw that as obviously a weakness. He was just like, no, she's not gonna make it out of here, you know, like she's not gonna survive here if she shows her emotions. She needs to chill out with that. Like, please stop it. And Avery was not having it. He would give her attitude and she would slap him. Slap him right across the face. And honestly, he kind of liked that. Not even gonna lie, Damon was into that shit. And he was really, yeah, he was into that. He likes him a little aggressive, what can I say, you know? He really was into that, and I love that. But yeah, I think that that's what makes the book a little, on the chemistry part, like on the chemistry side of things, you definitely have a little bit more of that individual chemistry as well, because you don't want to, like I was saying, you don't want to white choose where all the there's no individuality to the relationship. It's all blurred into one, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want that. You want individuality with the chemistry, I feel like, in my opinion, you know what I mean? Again, my opinion. But anyway, for the series, book 1 and 2, they're the setup for the Lilydale Foundation. Like, it's where the initial obsession begins. It's where you have, obviously, you start building on the plot, the mystery, and you start getting a little bit more of what Lilydale is about. They're obviously in an institution there. Like I said, they're at that institution because they committed crimes, where instead of serving time in prison, they were put into the institution to try to rehabilitate and be put back into society. And if I remember correctly, I think Avery, I don't want to say, I might be wrong because it was so far back, but I think Avery was the only one that served actual prison time before she was sent to Lilydale. But don't fact check me on that because I could be wrong. It was so far back. But yeah, they all end up at Lilydale, And Lilydale is not the place where it's not just like a mental rehabilitation center where they keep criminals. Like, that is just their front. And that is where the secret society comes in, because the secret society is obviously made of Damon, Theo, and Gray, and Avery. But Avery and Theo get brought in later into the secret society. They're not already a part of it. They get brought in. You know what I mean? Once Avery gets into a relationship with Gray, that is when she gets brought in. But then she forms a relationship with Theo, and then that's when Theo gets brought in. So it's, in the beginning, it's Damon and Gray with other people. So their job in the secret society is basically to bring down Lilydale. Yes, it is supposed to be a mental rehabilitation center or a mental institute, but that is not all it is. They are keeping patients there for what they call the greater good, when in reality they're using it to experiment on human beings in the most bizarre, torturous way, more in, inhumane ways of treatment. And obviously Damon, Gray, Theo, and Avery, they're just not up for that. That is not what they stand for. That is not what they want. And the head of the institution, or the owner of the institution, is Damon's dad. And Damon's dad obviously, Damon is in there for a reason. I don't want to give away too many spoilers. That's why I'm thinking about how I'm wording things. But Damon, technically, he doesn't belong there, and he's gonna bring down the institution. That is his job. That is what he's doing. That is what he created the secret society for, because he wants to bring all this down. And then, of course, moving forward to books 3 and 4, that's the all-in phase, where the family dynamic is of the 4, with Avery, Theo, Damon, and Gray, is fully cemented. It's fully formed. The relationships are fully in full force, are in full drive, and so is the mission of the secret society. So you have plot twists. By the way, the endings to these books are gonna have you freaking gagged, because you're gonna be like, that is why it sucked for me, because I feel like I had to wait for the audiobooks to come out. But now that they're all out, you guys don't have to worry about having to wait for the next audiobook, because I had to wait for the audiobooks to come out. And especially after the ending of the 3rd book, I was left so gagged. I was like, no freaking way. Like, there's no way that this is happening right now. I was literally in tears, because I was like, there's no way that this is happening. I swear to God, if something happens, I'm gonna be so angry. I'm gonna be so upset. It's gonna be insane. I'm gonna need to get institutionalized myself, because there is no freaking way that we are ending this book right here. And then I had to wait for the audiobook to come out. You know what I mean? Like, I tortured myself. I could have just read the book, but I was already in full force on the audiobooks, and I was not gonna give up. My mama didn't raise no quitter, okay? So, yeah. Honestly, the 4th book, it's mostly tying up all the loose ends, the relationships, all of it, you know, and I loved that. I loved the ending. I think it was perfect for them. I think it was well deserved. I think it was, honestly, there was a point where I cried. My emotions were pretty elevated. I think I was going through a lot of emotions towards the end because I was happy, I was sad, I was angry, but then I was mostly happy because I was like, yeah, this is where it's at, you know what I mean? Another thing that I really enjoyed about this book and the series in whole was the spice. Now, the spice, in my opinion, was done to the perfect amount, because even though it is a white shoes romance, you don't have an overwhelm. Again, please don't get me wrong, I love an all smut no plot book. I love that for me, but I also love to have a plot, and I also like to have a story, and I got that with the series. The spice, perfect. Okay, at one point I honestly thought that I was gonna I honestly thought that that Theo and Gray were gonna end up having their little moment because that's how great the family bonding and the chemistry is. Like, honestly, I felt like it would have happened. I don't know why Steph Macca didn't do that. I honestly would have been so happy if she would have gave us a little romance between those two because that would have been the cherry on top, honestly. But the spice did not take away from, like, it was the perfect amount. It really was the perfect amount, because I still got story, plot, twists and turns and mystery and all of that, but I still got the spice, and I think that was perfect. I really liked it. I think that it was perfect. The narrators, to me, 5 out of 5. The story, 5 out of 5. The spice, 5 out of 5. I couldn't ask for anything better. Literally, this series was absolutely perfect in my opinion. You guys have to listen to it. It's definitely worth reading, but mostly I think it's worth listening to. I think, you know, it's definitely worth listening to. If you're gonna listen to any audiobook, please let it be this one, because I promise you guys are gonna love it. There is no way that you guys cannot. It's such an immersive experience, and you're gonna love it. I promise you that. But that is all I have for this little deep dive for Steph Macca's Dance with My Demons. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys go ahead and give this series a listen, because I promise you guys are gonna love it, like I said. So without wasting any more time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and come back for another video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.